Hey, it's Jay from Bucket Cap Sports here, and today we are going to talk about Hal Steinbrenner. Are the Yankees being cheap? Is Hal poor? Let's figure it out. Hal recently had a press conference, and on payroll, he was quoted as saying, "Would it be ideal if it went down? Of course." Now, this shouldn't be a shock to anybody. Any team wanting to save on payroll makes sense. I don't take this to mean that the Yankees want to spend less or, make sure that the other teams have a chance. I think it's merely they still want to sign all the same players. They just want to sign them for less money than they are now. When he was asked if the Yankees are profitable, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting. He said, "I don't want to get into it, but that's not a fair statement or an accurate statement. Everybody wants to talk about revenues. They need to talk about our expenses, including the $100 million expense to the city of New York that we have to pay every February 1st, including the COVID year. It all starts to add up in a hurry." Now, that's a little bit of a cop out because what he's referring to there is the lease money that they have to pay to the city of New York. But in reality, that saves the Yankees tax money because they aren't paying property tax. That's why they don't want to own Yankee Stadium. The city of New York owns Yankee Stadium basically as a workaround so that the Yankees don't actually pay tax on it. So, yeah, you're paying 100 million to the city every year because the city's saving you a bunch of money on property taxes and other things directly related to the expenses of owning a stadium versus leasing one. He went on to say, "Nobody spends more money, I don't believe, on player development, scouting, performance science. These all start to add up. If you want to go look at the revenues, you got to somehow figure out the expenses side as well. You might be surprised." Well, a couple things here. One, we won't be surprised because we're not allowed to see the expenses. All the books for all Major League Baseball teams are closed. So we have no idea. Basically, he's saying we spend more than all the other teams on these three things that you can't see: player development and performance science. We spend more than everyone else on that. Don't worry. So that's a little bit of a cop out. You're not the richest team in New York anymore. You're not you don't have the highest payroll in baseball anymore, but you're kind of trying to say, oh, but we still spend higher than everyone else in these categories that you can't see. Because the only one that you can see, the only one that we can see is player salary. So that's a little bit of a cop out. There's no way for him to show us that he spends more. So we just have to take his word on it that he spends more on all these things that you can't see. And you're going to tell me, you make me believe that the Dodgers and Mets aren't spending like crazy in those categories as well? That's a little bit of a far-fetched idea for me to believe. I think he's just trying to say, look over there. Same as last year when he said, oh, we shouldn't have to spend 300 million to try to win a World Series. You're just a rich guy talking like you're poor. Like that's not baseball anymore, Hal. You got your shallow pockets, or your little pockets, shallow Hal, and maybe if you save up enough money, you can get a couple extra metal detectors, and it won't take everybody 45 minutes to an hour and a half to get into Yankee Stadium every time there's a big game. Not even a big game, just like an average game. Fix that situation, Hal. And then later on, when he's asked about competitive balance and payroll, he says, "Look, there are groups of fans out there in different areas, including my hometown here in Tampa, that, and I've addressed this before, come to spring training games thinking their team has little chance of making the playoffs, or at least little chance of making it deep into the playoffs. And those fans would argue that it's not good for baseball as a whole. And it's a valid argument. Whether or not it's true, it's a valid argument. I'm not so sure it's a valid argument coming from you, Hal. Clearly, you still want to go out and sign Paul Skeens away from the Pirates, right? You just want to be able to do it for 150 million instead of 200 million. So that's not going to make fans in Pittsburgh any happier because you took their star player away for less money than you would have had to otherwise. I think this is a little bit of a cop out from him. Does this mean that the Yankees are suddenly poor? Absolutely not. The Yankees are the poorest team in New York City, so there's that. But they're still going to have regularly the third or fourth highest payroll in baseball. It's just a little bit different than 20, 25 years ago when you could always pencil them in up at the top. So they're poor by their own fans' standards, but they're not poor in a Major League Baseball sense. And any of this talk about, oh, we're not profitable, you can't see the numbers. Yeah, we can't see the numbers. If you really weren't profitable, going ahead of a collective bargaining agreement coming next year, you would be showing everybody how much money you're losing. But you can't and you won't because the owners are full of it. And this is going to be a pro-labor channel. Even when it's millionaires versus billionaires, I'm always going to be pro-labor. And I think the players are the ones here that are going to have to come out on top. And the owners don't really care about competitive balance. They care about keeping salaries low so that they can be more profitable. And that goes from Hal Steinbrenner all the way to John Fisher and Bob Nutting. They all just care about making as much money as possible, and they just do it in different ways. The Yankees do it by spend money to get money. The A's and Pirates do it by collect revenue sharing checks to collect revenue. Anyways, if you like the channel, whether you hate the Yankees or not, give it a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.